Now, I have been an introverted person throughout my entire life, and I have spent majority of my life being alone in the sense that I have spent a lot of time every single day throughout my life, having a significant amount of time to myself, just by myself, without any company, without actually people constantly chatting into me and whatever, right? Be it when I was in school, be it when I'm out of school. Since I was a kid till now, that has been the case. And at some point, regardless of how introverted you are and how difficult you find to speak to some people, you will get to a phase, you will come to a phase or a point where you feel like you don't necessarily know what you want to talk about, but you feel the absence of people. You feel like, okay, just something, right? You just want to laugh about something with people, you want to yap about something with people, and that feeling definitely comes to you at some point. Now, introverts, I can imagine, I don't like the word, but I'm going to use it anyway, can deal with that a whole lot better. Now, most people around the world, especially in this generation, in this time, are going to find it extremely difficult to be alone. Now, there is a significant importance to being alone at times. Now, when I say being alone, I don't mean isolate yourself from everyone for the rest of your life and just stay by yourself. That's not what I mean. What I mean is finding significant amount of time throughout your life to just be by yourself. No technology, no phone, no computer, no people, no nothing. Just by yourself. That's it. And people will find that extremely difficult. The sense for the need for validation, the need for it's almost you can't explain it. You just need people around you, someone to laugh with, someone to just do nonsense with. You need someone that stimulation people need. People can't live without it, and they get extreme joy out of it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I know for a fact that if you ask every single person on a personal level, do they want some time alone? Do they want some time to understand themselves? They will say yes, because I significantly believe at this point, especially people in their 20s or below that, from your teenage phase to your 20s, and until you actually become 30 and so on, like where you go to a different stage of being an adult and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people actually understand themselves. They don't know what they actually want. They don't know how they think about certain things. They don't know their own opinions on certain things. And this was a case with me as well, a couple of years ago. And in certain areas of my life, it still is. And you're not expected to know everything and just okay, I have every single aspect of my life planned out at that age. You probably don't, because your mind is it's kind of all over the place. But the problem is it's all over the place because you're spending you don't I don't want to say it's because you're spending time with these people. It's because you don't have enough time for yourself. You're not giving yourself enough space, time for yourself. I'm sure every single one, if you ask them, do you want to understand yourself better, do you want to know what the heck you want, they will say yes. But do they? At the moment, the answer is no, and they don't know what the heck they need to do in order to achieve that, which we'll discuss in this video. Now, the first step to doing this is, it sounds so simple, but yet people not do this because they'll think it's a very negligible step. Find time for yourself every single day. And I know people will sit and say, oh, there's something called me time and stuff. They'll come up with cringy names for all this stuff, which I'm not going to talk about. But just find yourself a decent amount of time every single day where you're just by yourself. I don't care if you're looking at a wall. I don't care if you're looking at a freaking water bottle. I don't I don't care. It's not about that. Just put your phone and stuff away. Be by yourself. Be by yourself, and you'll have multiple one you'll notice, you'll have multiple thoughts come across your head. Some thoughts, and you may actually kind of hate those thoughts. You're almost like, why am I thinking like this? It makes no sense. It's absolutely pathetic. Why am I You may have those thoughts, but that's important. By having these thoughts is actually how you understand yourself better. You understand the opinions you have on certain things, what you like, what you dislike, what your personality is like, the kind of people that you gravitate towards. All these things you will understand only if you're by yourself. If you constantly flood yourself or surround yourself with people, what happens is you're going to be more influenced by other people's thoughts, more by what other people say than your own actual personality, if that makes sense. I have noticed this with people around me. They are very similar to the people they're around. I mean, there is this phrase, right? I mentioned it many times in my previous video. You are the average of the 5 people you're around with the most, something like that. And it's very true. It's almost subconsciously you get influenced by their thoughts. They'll say something, and even though you're like, you don't have an opinion on it, if you stick with them for long enough and they keep repeating that same statement, you will now form the same opinion on it. It's very natural. And I mean, it's fine, but the problem with this is eventually you get to a stage where you're lost for your own thoughts. You don't know what you think about it. It's other people's stuff that has influenced you. And we're all influenced in some way. I mean, whatever I'm saying right now, I have probably learned it from, not probably, I definitely have. There's multiple different YouTube videos, there's multiple different stuff, people that I've listened to, multiple different books that I've read, multiple different experiences that I've had in my own life that has led me to this video and whatever I'm saying. It's not like I've born and I've just been gifted with this knowledge. No, you're influenced in some way, obviously, but you never want to get influenced enough to the point where it takes over your instinct, if that makes sense. Your actual personality. Your personality is what makes you think a certain way and everything. And if that is being overpowered by what other people think and say, that is where the issue lies. And how we're going to sort this out? By spending time. I don't want to say spending time with yourself. That just sounds very, very. That sounds in the love yourself category, which I am not going to be on about. But you want to give time to yourself. Give time to yourself. And when I say time to yourself, I do not mean sit and watch Netflix for 2 hours. It can even be just 15 minutes. Just do nothing for 15 minutes. I think for me, for example, I have situations throughout the day where I have those moments, but majority of the time it's in the gym, right between my sets. I'll do a set, finish it. For the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just sitting there. Sometimes I have, actually, most times I have music on, so that is a stimulation which I did not notice. But it's often not the music that I'm thinking about, it's my own thoughts that I am thinking about. There's something, I'm thinking about something, and I'm very aware of those thoughts. People are not aware of those thoughts, and you need to be aware of thoughts. Again, you just need, it's a case of understanding yourself better. Now, the next thing is, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. A lot of people don't actually fear being alone, they fear being lonely. Oh, no one is around me, there's no one for me, that kind of a thing. Now, the problem is not being lonely, the problem is you don't have, or you don't know what your purpose is in life, and you don't have that big main goal. There is one big main goal in whatever aspect, spiritually, monetarily, relationshipally, whatever, right? There is some big goal that every single person needs to have in their life to just work towards a sense of purpose. That's something that kind of attracts you to it. And the way you do this is, it's not a very easy thing to understand, but or to get, but you need to have that in your life. You need to at least start looking for it or try to get a feel for it. Now, the way I would recommend is 5 years from now, visualize yourself, whatever person that you want to be. I'm not going to sit and say, okay, imagine yourself in this house, this area, doing this, doing that, earning X amount of money, being with this person. It's not necessarily about that. Just as a whole, as a overall scenario, picture yourself where you are in 5 years' time and work yourself backwards from that, if that makes sense. Start doing that. Now, when you align yourself to a goal like this, that feeling of loneliness completely disappears, because most times in your life you're going to be occupied doing something. You're going to be occupied in some way or another working towards this goal, and the other times you're naturally going to be surrounded by people anyway. So that feeling of loneliness is not necessarily, you're not going to, you may feel, like I said, you need to spend time alone, but the feeling of, oh, there's nobody for me, I have a bunch of thoughts and I want to tell it to people, but there's no one to hear it, that feeling is not going to come, because you're doing something, you're constantly occupying yourself with something. The people who struggle with loneliness are not, it's not necessarily because they don't have people around them. That may be a factor, but it's most times because they don't have a big goal, a big something that they're gravitating towards to, something, a big liking almost that they're gravitating towards to. That is why they're lonely. It's as simple as that. And the other thing is, as you take your life in a certain direction, like I said, you visualize yourself 5 years from now and you pull yourself towards being that person over a period of time, you will naturally start attracting similar kind of people into your life. It'll start happening at some point. It'll take a long time, but once you kind of pull yourself to that kind of life that you want to live, people who are interested in the same things, people who feel the same energy, people who have the same mindset as you will naturally start coming into your life as well. And it's something that you can't really verbally explain. It's just something that happens, but it does happen. Most people have friends or people who they relate with because they're in the same field as them, they have the same mindset as them. Whether it's people who go to the clubs and freaking party every night, or you work in the same situation, or you play the similar games, or you're interested in the same sports, you're interested in the same kind of business, whatever. It's when you're interested in the similar kind of field that you start developing friends, you start making relationships in that with the same kind of mindset. And that's the same thing, when you start working yourself in that particular direction, you will attract those kind of people into your life as well. Spending I want to finish this off by saying that you may think, okay, spending 15 minutes a day by myself, what is that going to do? Do not underestimate the power of this, because you keep evolving and changing as a person. I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. Even the 2 years, 1 year does not seem like, oh my god, ridiculous amount of a gap. Your thoughts, everything can really take a huge U-turn. It really can. You are not the same person you probably was long time. And again, this is more important in like the stages where you're in your teens, in your 20s. This is more likely to happen. You're constantly going to have those mental shifts, and you need to understand those. You need to understand what you're thinking. You need to understand what kind of a person you are. And it will take some time, but you at least need to give yourself the chance, the opportunity to actually understand yourself. And if you're constantly, if you're constantly stimulating your mind, stimulating your life with something without giving it a break, without giving it some room to breathe, you're not understanding yourself enough. You may be changing, you may be having different thoughts, different this, different that, but you don't necessarily know it. Your mind cannot process it because you're not giving it enough space to process it. And you need to, because I can almost promise you right now, you're not going to be evolving, you are not going to progress forward in your life if you do not understand your strengths and your weaknesses and what kind of a person you are. If you do not understand that, how can you actually move forward? It's quite literally impossible. Give time to yourself, understand yourself.